Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Neighbors Were Too Interested in My Property. I grew up in Russia in a family house. We had a huge garden, quite a big house, many trees and a dog. I absolutely loved it there, and we had some crappy neighbors too. A thing to know about Russia is that people like to stick their noses into other people's business a lot. We had a neighbor who probably wanted to buy the piece of land our house was on, but could not afford it and tried to get back at us in any way possible. She tried to feed our dog some rotten food, and once she tried to steal electricity from us. My grandmother blocked a dude who was sitting on our electricity pole with some cables and stole his ladder, calling the police afterwards. So yeah, this neighbor was really bad and always talked trash about us, and she was just not a nice old lady. One day after all of the above happened, my father was getting back from work. It was winter, it was very dark, and he found a dead raven at our front porch. The poor bird probably froze to death, winters were very cold back then, and fell mid-flight. My father came inside to tell us the news and ask what to do with the bird. We decided the best thing would be to throw it into our neighbor's garden. And so he did. He took a shovel, we went outside and threw the dead raven over the fence. Well, the frozen dead raven made a horrible loud sound while falling on her side of the fence, but we did not care. We thought the raven was just frozen solid and fell to the ground with such a loud thud. We were wrong, as we learned the next morning. You see, our neighbor had her toilet outside. I have no idea how she used it during the winter, but whatever, and we woke up to a terrible scream. My father threw the dead bird precisely at her outhouse roof, smashing it to pieces. It was not very intentional, but still. She basically woke up, went to use the bathroom, and found her roof destroyed and a dead bird lying around inside. She never knew it was us and thought that the bird just fell on her roof and was God's punishment. However, she did not bother us since then. And yeah, ripe stars, I gotta say, I had to read this story a couple of times. First of all, because the first time I read it and read about the dude sitting on the electricity pole, I just could not stop laughing. And then I read the ending part and I just had to read it again a couple of times. Stuff like this really can only happen in Russia. Anyway, if you enjoy the stories about crazy neighbors, then please don't forget to like the video, because that would help me tremendously. And the next one is titled, My Neighbors Got a Weird Suspicious Lifestyle. Last year, my wife and I moved into a new house. We never could have afforded this house, but her grandmother left it to her in the will. It was a blessing. We could have sold the house and bought a much cheaper one, but we had not really put down roots yet. My wife, let's call her Amy, not her real name, had a little bit more trouble finding a job locally than I did. And originally our shifts were a little bit weird, but after a few months things worked out and we both managed to get on similar schedules. During that time, my wife made the acquaintance of our neighbors when she managed to forget her house keys in the morning and was locked out. They waved her over and let her come inside to hang out with them while she waited on me to get home, and have been friendly with us ever since. Later that week, we were invited over to meet them, and that was the first time that I met them in person. I sort of had to stop my jaw from hitting the floor when I saw these people. Ray and Maria, not their real names, were almost out of a movie. I was not exactly surprised to find out that Maria was a model, Ray does something in textiles, and I don't know exactly what, but he seems to make a lot of money. As it turned out, Ray and I hit it off, and so did Maria and Amy. They became our go-to friend couple in the area since we did not really know anyone and we met their circle of friends. We hang out at least once a week as couples, and Amy spends time with Maria far more frequently than that. They have become very close friends, and I think that Ray and I are getting pretty close too. We found out that we had a lot in common. Ray and I did not come from money, but Maria and Amy did. We are both big nerds and we both paint Warhammer miniatures. Small world. Flash forward to this weekend, we were out shopping and Amy spotted Ray walking at a distance and tried to point him out to me. Then she paused and looked shocked. Plain as day, it was Ray getting out of his car and kissing a woman. A woman who was definitely not Maria. Amy was furious. Downright ballistic, I had to stop her from going over to immediately confront Ray. Not because it was not the right thing to do, but because I did not want Amy to get arrested for assaulting Ray or the woman that he was with. When she cooled down, she said that we had to tell Maria immediately. I agreed and I started to text, but Amy said that it was better to bring up in person. So we went home and Amy invited Maria over and said that she had something serious to talk about. Maria came over and looked happy to see us, but seemed a little bit confused about the heavy tone. Amy sat her down and explained what we had seen. Maria did not look mad, she just asked what color the woman's hair was. I started to say brown, but Amy said red, definitely red. Then Maria laughed. We were a little thrown. Amy repeated that she had seen them kissing, not really processing it. Maria said that was not a problem, that the woman was one of the mutual play partners that they shared. That was when Maria basically said, well, the cat is out of the bag. She explained that she and Ray were not strictly monogamous. Sometimes they had singular partners that they played with together, and sometimes they partner swapped, and sometimes they did other things, but always with each other's consent and with both of them having veto power over the other's partner or shared partners. I was genuinely surprised, and so was Amy. Maria thought our reaction was sweet but also hilarious. She mentioned it to Ray, who also thought the same thing. He came by later with pizza and wine and we ate dinner together. He said he was relieved that we had told Maria and that it was also a bit of weight off of their shoulders and that they didn't have to keep walking on eggshells about their lifestyle. I asked why they had kept it a secret. Ray explained that they had ground rules and lines that they did not cross. They tried to be careful in explaining about their non-monogamy with monogamous people because it could come across as an invitation and that this kind of thing was not for everyone and it might be seen as trying to push their way of doing things onto people who were perfectly happy with what they already had. Naturally, we had a few questions and they were very comfortable answering them. Amy had a lot more questions than I did, and later when Ray and Maria left, Amy and I had a good laugh about the misunderstanding. That was when Amy asked me if I thought that Maria was attractive. This felt like one of those "do I look fat in this outfit?" questions. So I said no. She quirked an eyebrow at me with that expression that says, "Really?" After a little more badgering, I eventually said that she was attractive but not the person that I was married to. Then I asked her if she thought that Ray was attractive. She said yes and we laughed about it and I thought that the conversation ended on a pretty good note. So here is what is bugging me. Over the past couple of days she has asked me several times if I thought that Maria was attractive. I already gave her an honest answer, but that was when I really started paying attention. She has also had that deep in thought look on her face. At first I was worried that she was worried that I would want to go and be swinger buddies with Ray and Maria, so I assured her that was not the case. Today when I got home, she was over visiting Ray and Maria again. She gets off about 30 minutes before I do now, and when she got back home she once again had that deep in thought expression that she sometimes gets when she is thinking. I asked her about what it was and she said it was nothing. She was just still surprised about the whole thing and felt guilty about freaking out when she saw Ray kissing another woman. I know my wife well enough to know that is not all of it. She's not going to say more to me though until she has thought it all out, but I know that she will and will eventually bring up what she's been thinking about. So I am asking for advice here because my mental processing power is kind of stretched just accepting that our friends are swingers. I have never been in this situation, neither has Amy, so I cannot really read her reaction to it and I have no idea what she's going to say. But I am already basically neck deep mentally and asking for strangers to throw me a rope by way of advice on processing the situation on what my wife might be thinking could not hurt. I don't want to screw up. And then a user in the comments said, "Why are you mentally stretched that your friends are swingers? The way you described it, they were not at all trying to push their lifestyle on you. What they do is not affecting you." And well, Ripe Stars, I guess that is debatable in this context because it did seem to affect OP's wife for some reason. Anyway, the person then further said, "Amy may just be curious about the lifestyle. That does not mean she wants to go out and do it. It could just be her trying to understand what it is about from a resource she feels comfortable with. Also, maybe she is a little bit intrigued. Maybe the thought of it turns her crank a little. You or we not know until you straight up ask her about it in a calm manner." In any case, I doubt the three of them are screwing around, and I doubt they are having conversations about how to get you to be cool with adopting the lifestyle. Also, I'm not a swinger, but what you have described should not be throwing you into a tizzy. Communicate with Amy, get her perspective instead of letting your fear of the unknown tell her side of it. And then OP answered, "I think it is less them being swingers and or poly that is confusing me, but the fact that I've known these people for around a year and got really close to them. I mean, we are neighbors and somehow I'm completely blindsided by something that's a really big deal in their relationship dynamic." And then another user in the comments said, "Please be careful, how are you going to react if your wife asks if you might be interested?" I just read and responded to a poster whose wife posed that question. He did not react well, and it is highly likely that his marriage may be over. For some, even the mention of ENM is a deal breaker. They view it as the partner not feeling they are enough. If you feel the same, you may want to put that out there before your wife asks. It may save you from a lot of heartache. And then OP answered, "Truth be told, I don't think I would blow up, but I would have a lot of questions to ask. I'm still kind of reeling from the last bit of info that I found out, so it would be a bit overwhelming." And then another user in the comments said, "She is trying to decide if this lifestyle would be something that she wants. Probably she asked them about it. You need to think about if this is something you would be interested in doing, because she, very well, will ask you if you want to try this lifestyle. If you're not interested in this, be firm that you don't want this." This has messed up marriages of people who are not into this. If you did try this, then set up firm boundaries of who and when and both agree. Some people can do this and others it is a disaster. For instance, could you stand knowing your wife is having intercourse with someone else? Could she stand knowing you are with another woman? I would suggest not getting into it unless you both can handle it and both are truly interested. Yes, the question will come up. OP then said, "That's a lot to think about, but I guess I had better think about it. It's pretty normal to be curious and even fascinated when we learn someone has a different way of doing relationships. It is possible your wife is fantasizing about this, asking herself how she would feel if you and she tried out ENM, ethical non-monogamy. The best thing you can do is have a very honest and open communication here. Explore within yourself how you would feel about it before talking to her. I will say that it is not for everyone, and for those who do it in a healthy way, we almost over-communicate about everything." OP, if that's the case, do you think that this is a passing fascination or possibly something that she is seriously considering? Also, since you mentioned that you practice it, do you think from the sound of it that Ray and Maria are practicing their lifestyle in a good way? Sorry if I stumble over terminology, the whole thing is just kind of a lot to swallow at once. And now an update to the story. First of all, I did not expect to get this many replies. I am kind of overwhelmed, and I got like 30 or 40 replies in my inbox before bed and thought it was a good amount of discussion. I am kind of blown away that this many people took an interest in what I thought was just kind of a niche situation. I am grateful for all of the advice, and a lot of people took an interest in sharing perspectives on things that I had not considered. I definitely have not managed to respond to or even read everything, but I took what people were saying into consideration. Last night, Amy told me she had finally worked something out and that it was funny and I would want to hear this. I kind of went in dreading what she meant, but she was relaxed. I asked if this was about Ray and Maria, and she said sort of. I asked if it was about their lifestyle, and she said only obliquely. I realized that playing 20 questions with my wife instead of just letting her talk was a bad idea, so I just listened. Amy pointed out a few things and told me about some experiences with Maria and things that she had figured out about Maria. First, she kind of dropped a bomb by saying that she was attracted to Maria physically. I asked if that meant that she was bi or maybe had realized that she was a lesbian. She said no, if she were bi, she would have figured it out in high school or college. She quoted Archer and called it a singular same-sex attraction. I said I could not blame her because I guess everybody thinks that Maria is hot. I asked her when she started to feel like that, and she said that it was a couple of months ago when they were out shopping together. She was very confused by it but could not put a label on it because she had never felt physical attraction to another woman before. This last weekend she was finally able to place a label on it, so I asked if she was going to want to do something with Maria, and she said let her finish because she was getting to the genuinely funny part. I still had no idea how this could conceivably go in a comedic direction, but I said okay. She's been going over and subtly trying to figure out just who most of Maria's play partners are, as in the gender ratio, but she was trying to be circumspect about it because she was trying to confirm something without directly asking it. Amy said that most of the partners that Maria picked out were women. Ray vetoed slightly more men than women, but out of her own volition, Maria picked more women than men. I said okay, but what's so funny about that? That is when Amy stood up and said that she was deep in the friend zone before she even realized that she was actually attracted to Maria or that Maria slept with other women. I asked how all of that added up, and she said that she was thinking back to all of her interactions with Maria and how Maria had never once checked her out or anything like that. I said oh. She said I could laugh because it was actually a pretty funny thing, so we laughed. I felt bad for her, but the conversation was basically realizing that her girl crush had pre-friend-zoned her before she even knew she had a crush. That's the kind of humor that we can laugh at as a couple. We ate ice cream and watched dumb movies. Later we talked about the open relationship thing. She said it probably wasn't for us, but if it came up later, we would talk about it. Mostly what had been on her mind was her confusion at her own same-sex attraction and the realization that she has been pre-friend-zoned basically. So that is where I am at right now. I'm not sure if this is a good update or not. Tonight Ray is off playing with one of his partners and Maria is coming over to watch movies and play cards with us. If the situation changes I will mention it, but I would like to say thanks again. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I'm curious what you think about this story. I gotta say, in my opinion, OP should talk more clearly with his wife because he clearly does not want this lifestyle and he seems a little bit helpless, at least in my opinion. It almost sounds like as if his wife was interested in trying this lifestyle, there's nothing he could do against it. That's certainly not the best way to communicate when you are married. But either way, let me know what you think about this in the comments. The first one is titled, "The Puppy Got It Bad." My son wanted to make a volcano, so we did. He wanted blue lava, so I added blue food coloring. The neighbors have this adorable puppy. He looks like a hound. He was running around and I kept picking him up to steer him away from our volcano. We got everything set up and I got out my phone to make a video of my son's science experiment. He is 4, experiment is a tough word. So he went up and poured in the baking soda mixture and empty Vesuvius was born in blue. The puppy ran up again and stepped in the blue lava. His little white socks are now blue. I went over and told the neighbors that it was just food coloring so they would not worry. They were mad, said I should have moved the volcano to the backyard or waited until the puppy was not running around. I don't think it is my responsibility to make sure their puppy does not end up with blue paws. I mean, he is cute as hell and not a dangerous dog, but they should still probably keep him on a leash or something. I have not seen him run around in the road, but he could, and that would probably be much worse than blue paws that won't stay blue permanently. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for not taking more care to keep the puppy out of our lava? And a user in the comments said, NTA, let me get this straight, they let their puppy run wild, it gets into something, and then they blame anyone but themselves? Tell those idiots that there is a lot worse things out there for a puppy to get into than blue food coloring. Some people leave rat poison out. PSA, as a vet tech who used to work ER, for God's sake people, please keep your dogs controlled. We see them come in hit by cars, attacked by dogs or wildlife, poisoned, shot by ranchers who thought they were coyotes, etc. Leash laws exist for a reason. And another user said, not the a-hole, if the puppy is running onto your property, then it is not your responsibility to make sure that it stays away from your volcano. You have as much of a right to use your front yard as they do, and most places in the US at least have leash laws. They should have kept a better watch on their puppy. At least for the most part, food coloring is harmless to dogs and it will wash out in time. No harm, no foul this time, but if the puppy runs out into the road or in a driveway of someone backing their car out, it would be a totally different story. Hopefully they take better care of their little one before he gets hurt. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I would say OP is definitely not the a-hole here. However, as the other user said, I am very concerned for the puppy. Especially if a dog is so young, you definitely have to keep an eye on him much better than these neighbors. Let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And in addition, if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel because it would be awesome if we could reach 80,000 subscribers. Thank you so much.